Alright, so this is number one. To start this off, you gotta isolate these two numbers and put a square box in it. But this is a quadratic formula, and to create the vertex form, we need the formula, which is y equals a x minus h squared plus k. So then from there, we're going to take up the negative 20 and we're going to divide it by 2, which equals negative 10. And then we square that. So negative 10 squared is going to be 100. And then you're going to put the 100 back in the box that I made. So let's rewrite it. So we'll make this box right here. And since I add that 100 on the left side, I gotta add it on the right side as well. And so then we have to begin to factor it out. So the n squared minus 20n plus 100 will be n minus 10 squared will be the factor. Then you just keep on bringing everything down, which is you just bring down negative 27. And then 100 minus 6 will be 94. And then you gotta bring this negative 94 over as well. It will then be negative 10 squared minus 121. This will be your vertex form. And then we gotta label the vertex. The vertex in this case is h k. And if you look up here, the h is the negative in k, and the h in this case is negative 10. Since there already is a negative, you gotta change the sign inside the parentheses, which is going to be then a positive 10, and then you just bring over the negative 121. That doesn't change signs. So this is your vertex, which will basically be, all right, number 2. There's basically 2 parts to this. Part 1, you just got to find the degree in the leading coefficient. The degree is basically just the highest exponent. So in this case, it's 6 right here. And you got to determine if it's even or odd. In this case, it's even. And then for the leading coefficient, you just find whatever the highest exponent is, you just find what the number is. So it's right here, negative 2. And this is, and then for the leading coefficient, you determine if it's positive or negative. And it's negative. So I'm going to make then you make a graph for this. This is part 2 of it. And so you can make a graph based on, it's just generalized. It will look something like this. I'm going to use just some dotted or whatever because it's not exact, but it will look along these lines. What it will look like. So that's the answer for 2. I'll make that thing already. And then for number 3, you're basically just doing the same thing again. So the degree will be 3 right here. And it is odd. Then to find the leading coefficient, it is 3 right here as well, which is positive. And then for the second part of this, you determine the graph based off if the degree and leading coefficients are even or odd or negative and positive. So in this case, it's odd and positive, so it's going to look like it's going to go up and then it's going to come back down, but it's going to end high. look something like this. Alright, this is number 4. So we're going to be graphing it. That's what our end's going to be, graphing it. And then we got to use end behavior, intermediate value theorem, and we got to find the zeros. So to start off, the way to do it is you're going to start off by using the end behavior. It was like what we did before. You got to use the degree in the leading coefficient. So the highest degree here will be 4, and leading coefficient 4, which will be even. And the leading coefficient will be 4 as well, which will be positive. Based just off of this, we can find that we can do, look, something based off that it's even and positive. We can see that it's going to be look something like that. So then the next thing would be we would find the zeros. So for this, we're gonna just rewrite it. And then from this, we can see that we can both take 4's out of each one, and an x squared as well. So it's going to be 4x squared. You can take the x squared plus the x, then minus 2. Because you can see 4x squared into an x squared is 4x to the 4th, then 4x squared into x will be 4x to the 3rd, and then 4x squared into negative 2 will equal negative 8x squared. But we're not done yet because you can still factor it down more from just this right here. So we still have the 4x squared on the outside, but we're going to make 2 parentheses, and we can see that we can put x plus 2 plus in one, then x minus 1 in the other. And then from here we get down to the most, and we'll find the zeros here, which will be 4x squared equals 0. This will be x equals 0. We set all these to 0 as well. So x plus 2 equals 0. Then the 2 will go to the other side, which will make it negative, which will be x equals negative 2. Then x minus 1 equals 0. They'll go to the other side, which equals x equals a positive 1. So then from here, once we find the zeros, all you have to do left is draw the graph here. And then we'll set the 1 farther apart so we can give it some room. And 2, 3. And so we can dot our x equals, which is x equals 0, plot it on the x, and then negative 2 here, and then the positive 1. But we gotta, since we don't know what's inside here like this, we gotta graph a number into the x's on the equation to find if it's gonna go positive or it's gonna go negative. So then from here we'll go down here. We'll start the negative 1, because that's between the x equals 0 and the x equals negative 2. So we'll write it out, which equals let's get some more room. We'll go down here a little bit. We just plug the negative 1 into all the x's. And so then this will be 4 minus 4, then minus 8, which will then equal a negative 8, because those cancel out. So this here, we can begin to graph it. This will come up and then this will come up. We know this, that will come up. So in here we see that it's gonna go down below the y equals 0. So it's gonna go down, then we'll bring it back up to the 0, and we still gotta find this side. So then we're gonna plug in a half, because that's between 0 and 1. So in finding this, you can see that's going to be 0.25 when you find out this right here, and plus 0.5, and then minus 2. This will then equal negative 1.25. So this is going to be a negative as well, which means it's going to go down as well and go back up. So it's going to, so the answer is going to look like this. And then, all right, for the next one, we bring down the 9n minus 2, and by using long division, you got to put all 3 of these in here. So to put in here, we first gotta do the how much times 9n goes into 9n to the third, and this is n squared. We're going to put it under this one, under this category, and then the n squared, you got to times it by the 9n and the negative 2, which will be 9n to the third. We're going to put these in parentheses as well, and this will be negative 2n squared. And then we're going to put a negative on the outside as well. And then these cancel out on this side. And then this will be, since it's a negative and negative becomes a positive, it should be negative 27 n to the squared. But we have to bring down the negative 21 as well. Negative 21n. And we times this negative 27n squared into the 9n, and or negative 27 divided by 9n, which will be negative 3n, and then we take the negative 3n and multiply the 9n and the negative 2, so we can make something like this, times it into both of them to know that this stuff above we multiply into there. So this will be negative 27n squared, we're multiplying it, and a positive 6n. Put these in parentheses as well, put the negative on the outside. These cancel out because this becomes a positive, and this will be, and this, the 6n will then become a negative, which will make it a negative 27n. We still got the 11 out here, bring it down again, make it positive 11. Then we take the negative 27n, right here, into the 9n, or negative 27 divided by 9n, which will be just negative 3. And then since we multiply the 9n and the negative 2 by the negative 3, this will be negative 27n and a positive 6. Still put the parentheses, negative on the outside. These cancel out because that becomes a positive. The 6 becomes a negative, which will then make it 11 minus 6, which will become 5. And since there's a remainder, you got to bring this back up to here. And this will be, since the 5 is positive, 5, and then just your 9n minus 2 will be the denominator. So for the answer, we'll write it out easier. 5 over the 9n minus 2. That'll be the answer for number 5.